It's time! Hit the bell with Mathias Berbel. Round 1.
Welcome to Hit the Bell with Mathias Berbel. We are in round 1. It is a fresh week. We just saw a great fight week in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But we also saw, I know we want to get to this right away, we saw the Conor versus Khabib opening press conference, which was absolutely fantastic. It was filled with barbs back and forth between Khabib and Conor. Obviously, Conor stole the show, and he did it in a very, very Conor type of way. We're going to play you some highlights about what happened. I know you're going to be into this. I was listening to this live, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I know that Conor could be very charismatic, and he could be so Conor McGregor loud, I'd like to say. But he just really had some anger through his voice today, and he let Khabib have as much Conor as Conor could give. It was a really good press conference. I'm really glad Dana White did not let the public into this event, because if he would have, we would have seen maybe something stupid happen, just like we saw between Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor in that press conference with you know, Conor throwing monster cans across the room. Or I don't know how Conor would have reacted if the crowd would have egged him on more with the things he was saying. He was literally throwing every jab back and forth to Khabib, and I'm going to be happy to share a lot of these things to you guys. First, I'm going to break down the fight night that happened this past weekend in Sao Paulo. We saw some excellent fights, and I kind of called out a lot of these fights. I let you know between the main event that Eric, your boy Enders, should not have taken the fight against Thiago Santos. Thiago Santos, a very heavy hitter, a very excellent fighter. Both fighters very excellent, but we just saw Eric Enders fight not that long ago versus Tim Williams, and it was a hell of a fight. You know, Eric Enders was a big favorite, but he took some hits in that fight. I just definitely thought he should have taken some more time off, enjoy the win, you know, go back to the drawing board, figure things out. But this guy's hungry. He wants to get to the top right away. There's ways on going to the top, and there's ways on not going to the top, and he took the wrong route. He did have an excellent fight against Thiago Santos. It was a fantastic fight to watch. You know, it was eye candy for all you UFC fans. These guys were hitting each other back and forth. Eric could have maybe won this fight if he would have landed a bigger punch, a clean punch. But Thiago was the fresher fighter in there. He was the more rested fighter in there. He was a fighter that didn't take as many hits as Eric took in his last fight. When we saw Thiago Santos fight not that long ago, he really destroyed his Tuesday Night Contender Series fighter. It was no walk in the park for Eric Enders versus Tim Williams compared to Thiago Santos. Thiago Santos, who recently took on Kevin Holland not that long ago, but you know, he played with Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland was not supposed to be in that fight, and Thiago Santos proved to the world why he is an elite fighter. Eric Enders could not do the same, and sure enough, Thiago Santos laid it out on Eric Enders. It's simple as that. And now he put Eric Enders back to the drawing board. I'm sure he's going to get another fantastic fight soon, because it was an eye candy type of fight where you were just oohing and eyeing the whole time, especially me. But yeah, Thiago Santos took that fight. On to the next one for Thiago. Back to the drawing board for Eric Enders. We saw Alex Oliveira take his name back up to where it should be. The guy has powerful hands. He was able to knock out Carlo Pedersoli right away in the first round. It was, you know, it took him about a minute, less than a minute, to really take him down. Landed a big shot. Finished him very well. Alex very, very emotional after the fight. We kind of see Alex Oliveira fight in the mainland. You know, we see him fight all around the world, but we never really see him fight in Brazil. And now that he finally got to fight in Brazil, he showed how great it is to be a Brazilian and how fantastic it is to win a fight in Brazil when you are Brazilian. I was happy for the guy. He's been through many battles, and for all you Hawaiians, you know what kind of battles he's been in, because he was in an absolute war with Yancy Medeiros, and that was one of the fight of the years. I love Alex Oliveira, and I love his walkout music. His walkout music is one of my most favorite things to listen to when you see a fighter walk out. Unfortunately, they've thrown him on a lot of fight nights, so I can't listen to his walkout music a lot. But it's a Latin song, and it goes chet. I love that song. I just had to give you guys a little shout out, and I just sang that. I sang that to the audience. You guys can make fun of me, but I will sing that loud and clear every day. But we're going to keep going down the line, and I got to give props to the old man, the veteran, Antonio Nogueira, knocking out Sam Smiling Alvey. Sam is a very tactical fighter. He has some big hands. He's a very smart fighter, knows when to engage, knows when to walk away from an engagement. And sure enough, Antonio landed a big shot on Sam, a shot that not many people pretty much land on Sam because of how smart of a fighter he is. And Antonio really took the fight to Sam, landed a couple big shots, was able to knock down Sam, and the ref jumped in there right away and stopped the fight. Sam Alvey not so happy after the fight, not smiling, that's for sure. And we usually see Sam smiling, Alvey smiling a lot after his fight, win or lose. This one, not so much. He looked pissed. But to go on, props to Nogueira, and I'd like to see him fight. I want to see his next fight. The guy's a veteran. I want to see who he gets next. I don't want to see him get knocked out, but more than likely they're going to give him a bigger name, and a bigger name will most likely finish Nogueira. But good for him, nonetheless. We saw Renan Barão versus Andre Ewell. Andre Ewell took this fight, landed 57 total strikes. The guy fought a very tactical fight, was able to get one takedown, but when you look at Barão, he had 3 takedowns and he landed 67 strikes. But for some reason, they gave this fight to Andre Ewell. It was an excellent fight to watch. Definitely did not think that Renan lost that fight. Renan is a veteran, a legend of the sport, especially in the bantamweight division. A lot of you guys remember the battles he's been in with Uriah Faber and so forth and so on. And we all know that TJ Dillashaw stepped in late notice and knocked out Renan Barão, a former bantamweight champion, and TJ Dillashaw dethroned him. TJ Dillashaw was able to defend his belt a couple times until he lost to Dominic Cruz. And after he lost to Dominic Cruz, we saw Cody Garbrandt beat up Dominic Cruz and win the belt. And as you know, TJ Dillashaw was able to recapture that belt. And that division has been up in the air. But now that TJ has really claimed dominance in that division, we've seen TJ trying to chase Renan, because Renan was a bantamweight champion for a long time. He was that guy. Renan was running the bantamweight division, and we saw Jose Aldo run the featherweight division. These were the 2 Brazilian kings at the moment. Brazilian kings not no more. It was an excellent card to watch, and it was a lot of eye candy on this fight, a lot of great competitive fights. And it's always fun when you get to talk about these fights afterwards, especially when you've seen a bunch of great fights, because that's what you want to see as a viewer. This is how the UFC is only going to keep getting bigger, because you're going to want to see people, these fights are going to attract people to watch the next card, and the next card is going to be absolutely fantastic. And you know why? It's because it's Conor versus Khabib. And that is something that sells itself, man. When you think about all the drama that's been going on with these two guys, it's something that excites you. It's something that, it's appointment television, like Bobby Curran likes to say. These are the types of things that the sport grow. I'm going to go over the main event right now. I'm going to just tell you guys the matchups that are going to be happening. And it's fantastic. The card starts with Michelle Waterson versus Felice Herrig. Michelle Waterson, the number 8 strawweight, versus number 9 Felice Herrig. It's going to be an excellent fight. The Karate Hottie is an absolute fantastic fighter. She fights with a great style, very entertaining to watch. And Felice Herrig, her nickname, the Little Bulldog. You know why? Because she fights like a bulldog. She gets in there. She ain't scared. She always wants to engage, and this is a perfect type of fight for a UFC fan, especially for new UFC fans to watch, especially for a UFC card to open with. This is the type of fight that people want to watch. It's going to be fantastic. And then you go to Derek Lewis versus Alexander Volkov. Alexander Drago, however you like to say it, Volkov, the number 5 heavyweight. The guy's really made a run in the UFC in the heavyweight division over his last few fights. We've seen him take down a lot of fantastic fighters. When you look at Fabricio Werdum, when you think of Stefan Struve, when you think of Roy Nelson, the guy is on an absolute tear as of late, and he's worked his way all the way up to Derek Lewis, the number 2 heavyweight. And for all you that know that Derek Lewis, he is the Black Beast. He is the one that made Francis Ngannou pretty much not fight like Francis Ngannou. And Derek Lewis is so much fun to watch. You know how he likes to knock guys out left and right. After that, we have Dominic the Devastator Reyes versus Ovince St. Preux, the ex-Tennessee Volunteer. But he was an excellent football player at Tennessee, and we see a lot of these college football players go into the UFC when things don't work out in football. But both these fighters, very excellent. Dominic Reyes, very heavy hands. Ovince St. Preux has a lot of awesome knockouts as well. Ovince St. Preux is a number 7 light heavyweight, and Dominic Reyes is a number 12 light heavyweight. That's going to be a great fight as well. Man, I'm just going over these fantastic fights. It's like it's one by one. It's like it's ammunition that these guys are giving us. And co-main event, Tony Ferguson versus Anthony Pettis. What a fantastic co-main event. Tony Ferguson coming back from injury. Tony Ferguson pretty much the interim lightweight champion because he was stripped when he got hurt and tore his ACL when he was supposed to fight Khabib. He tore his ACL on the UFC Tonight set and he wasn't able to fight. It was devastating. That wasn't supposed to happen. And that was the fight where Max Holloway took over for Tony Ferguson, and Max Holloway didn't make weight, and that devastated Hawaii because we were all stoked to see Max fight Khabib. And next thing you know, Khabib is fighting Al Iaquinta. Not Tony, not Max, but Al freaking Quinta. You gotta be kidding me. The realtor, the guy who sells houses, got this fight. This fight was supposed to be Tony versus Khabib, and he got hurt, and now Tony's finally back. It's been a long time waiting for Tony. I love watching Tony Ferguson fights. You see what Tony Ferguson does on the octagon? He's a little ninja. He could breakdance his way in a fight. The guy is an absolute stud. He can hit you with bows. He can beat you on the ground. He has good stand-up. Does he have an amazing chin? Not that great of a chin. We know that by watching the Lando Venata fight. When you saw Tony Ferguson fight Lando Venata, Lando almost knocked him out, and that was Lando's UFC debut. He was supposed to run over Lando Venata, and then Lando Venata gave him a huge run for his money. But because Tony has such great jiu-jitsu skills, he was able to pretty much submit Lando. And Tony is an excellent fighter, one of the funnest fighters to watch in the UFC. A fight that I'm very looking forward to watching, especially because he's fighting Anthony Showtime Pettis, number 8 lightweight. Anthony Pettis, awesome fighter. Has he had his moments of cold and hot? Yeah, he has. We've seen Anthony Pettis struggle in the octagon, but he has been hot as of late. You've seen Anthony really work his game, and we saw him beat up a Michael Chiesa in his previous fight. It was fantastic. It was a fun fight to watch. And need I say any more, the main event, Conor McGregor versus Khabib. I'm going to give you guys some highlights in round 2 of what happened at the presser. I hope you guys enjoyed round 1. This is Hit the Bell with Mathias Berbel.
It's time! Hit the bell with Mathias Berbel. Round 2.
This is round 2 with Mathias Berbel, and it is Conor versus Khabib time. I want to get to the highlights. I've been waiting all show to do this. Round 1 was tough to do because, you know, in the back of my mind, I was thinking of what the hell happened at that presser. And we're going to go right to it. I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm going to give you guys some highlights of what happened in the Khabib versus Conor McGregor presser numero 1.
I came back for the love of this, to come and shut this man up. A little rat, a little weasel, a little hard man in groups. I've met many of them through my years. A man who grows in numbers, but on his own, and when confronted in a similar situation, cowers away. And that's what you saw with that little on the bus over there. He his jocks after doing something to his own countryman that had nothing got to do with anything. And that's it. I came back for the love of fighting and the love of war, and this I am going to truly, truly love, putting a bad beating on this little glass jaw rat.
I'm come here for smash this guy. I don't want to
Smash me,
talk.
mate. Smash me. Smash me.
I can smash
you say send location. Here it is, right here in front of you. I'm right in front of you.
I think it's gonna be long night for him. It's gonna be long night.
Yes.
He know
oh
this.
Lord, save me. That's
He know
crazy.
this. He know this. I stay relaxed. I don't feel nothing. I know I have location.
I stay on bus.
6 October.
I stay on bus.
6 October.
In the bus.
Like we talked before, like direct in Twitter. You remember this? When we talk? You remember
You
this?
bought me t-shirt, you're a little fan.
Yeah,
Listen, kid, don't be
like
talking me about
2014.
Twitter. This is called prize fighting. But thankfully, I'm such a crafty individual with my other entities and my entire game as a whole that I don't actually.
I'm gonna put him back to box.
I'm
gonna put him
book. They'll bang off
Hey,
me.
you have to fight only box because you compete with high-level guys
I don't have to
wrestling.
fight for money no more. Thank the Lord.
You
Jesus
fight with
hates
small
Christ.
guys in
I don't
featherweight
have to
division,
fight
and
for
these
money
guys
no more.
who have
I've
wrestling,
made
they
so
give
much
you
to my
lot of
other
problem.
entities.
What are you talking about?
If I
Your
made-
wrestling is zero. Your grappling is zero.
Stall it then,
I'm gonna
Bob.
mow
Stall
you.
it. Let's wrestle, kid.
Let's wrestle. Let's wrestle.
Let's wrestle.
6 October. Let's wrestle.
Let's wrestle. Yeah, you hope, mate. Oh, yeah, you're gonna be wrestling my knuckle out of your orbital bone.
I think I'm gonna make him tired and after play with him. Because when he tired, he always give up. He don't like. He's like when you go to the he moved to box and he tap there. You know, like when someone punch you like 10.
You tap the
15
bus
times,
window,
you
kid.
Tap, you
tap the bus window.
3 times.
You tap the little stop that stops the bus.
You top
Someone
4
stop
times.
this
What are you
bus.
talking about? What are you talking about? You top 3. You top 3 4 times. You top 4
So
times.
what? I'll tap your head
You
off
tap
the
like
canvas,
chicken.
kid.
You tap like
I'll
chicken 4
tap your
times.
head off the canvas. All his pony talk is going to be put on blast October 6th.
Do you have a round in mind?
As long as it takes. I believe one. He's a glass jaw. And I've seen this man wobble many times. I've seen his brother sparked unconscious in another promotion. I know he is afraid of a smack. And if you're afraid of a smack off me, a smack will feel like a double-barrel shotgun. So I believe the inside the force. But I have been wrong before. I will be prepared for 5 rounds. You're looking at a fighting veteran. I've came through it all.
Well, that was a blast to listen to. I love hearing that again because it was literally that great to listen to again. He has a glass jaw. Little rat. The guy is out of his mind. Boy, does he know how to sell a fight. Props to Conor McGregor. He wanted the fans and his crowd and his Irishmen in there strong, but Dana White denied him that privilege. I can understand why. Like I said in round 1, look at his recent history and what's happened at these pressers. I was actually happy just to see Conor versus Khabib in this presser. You know, you saw both of these guys engage at each other, and you kind of saw Khabib, if you watched the presser, a little timid at first. Didn't want to really get engaged with Conor. Wanted just Conor to run this show, and pretty much, I'm here for the show. I'm going to get the hell out of here. We'll show up October 6th, and we'll get this thing going. But, you know, after a lot of things were said, Khabib decided to talk back. And in my opinion, Conor won this exchange. Conor was having a blast in there, because we kind of saw Khabib come out of his shell and start trying to talk about what's going on, what he's going to do, and are you kidding me, man? And that he should have just kept it quiet and should have laughed it off. Honestly, that's what he should have done. I know Dana White wants him to say stuff to engage with Conor, but that's what Conor does. That's what fuels Conor, is when somebody talks back, because Conor's going to do his homework, and he's going to know what to say and who to talk about and how to get into your head. You see his manager, Khabib's manager, pretty much try to say something at the end of the presser when they're going off. And Ali should not have said anything, because Conor did his homework to the point where he called out Ali. And he called him out for all sorts of stuff. He's like, what about Noah, mate? What about Noah? How's Noah doing, eh? And if you know who Noah is, he's Ali's son who he abandoned and has a lot of child support to pay up. And that's pretty much a case that's dirty, dirty business. They didn't feel what his facial expression was when Conor called him out. But you could only imagine how angry and how pissed off Ali must have been. For all of you that saw the UFC embedded videos, when Conor threw the dolly through the bus window, we could hear Ali in the background saying, I'm gonna kill that man. I'm gonna kill that Conor McGregor. I'm gonna kill that bleep bleep. I'm gonna kill that guy. And those are some words that were coming out with some anger. So I know that Ali does not like Conor McGregor whatsoever. And we see Ali mixed up in it with a bunch of business. When we saw Kamaru Usman get in a fight at a nightclub, who was right next to Kamaru, hanging out with Kamaru and pretty much in skinning some stuff? That was Ali. Not the guy that everybody thinks he is. I don't think he's so clean cut. I think he's a good manager, but besides that, I don't think everything's going his way. And I think Noah could say the same thing. I hope you guys enjoyed round 2. We're going to talk with Adam Hill from the Las Vegas Review-Journal in round 3. We're going to break down this press conference, and we're going to get his opinion on what's going to happen in this huge card. Stay tuned. This is Hit the Bell with Mathias Berbel.
It's time. Hit the bell with Mathias Berbel. Round 3.
Welcome back to Hit the Bell with Mathias Berbel. We are in round 3, and joining us now is Adam Hill from the Las Vegas Review-Journal. You could catch him on Twitter, Adam Hill, LVRJ. How's it going, Adam? What's been going on, man?
I am good. It's Vegas and hockey season's underway, so very busy with a lot of hockey. So that's fighting in addition to MMA, which is the main gig, and looking forward to Conor and Khabib coming up. So covering a lot of fighting, whether it's on the ice or in the cage.
Always appreciate having you on. I know how busy you are. I know the Las Vegas Golden Knights are just killing it out there, and Khabib versus Conor is going to kill it as well. What did you think of that press conference?
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, the energy wasn't quite the same as usual with no fans in the building, and I get why they did that. I mean, I think when Conor and Khabib get together, you've got not only them but their entourages and all kinds of weird, loosely affiliated, kind of organized crime type figures around them both. So I get wanting to be safe and not have the crowd there, but I do think it took a little of the energy out of things. And Conor likes to play off the crowd and try to get people riled up and make them laugh and kind of get them involved. So I think it took a bit away from it, but at the same time, you saw classic Conor and his well-researched jabs, and I think you saw a Khabib Nurmagomedov that was very disinterested in it all, and I think he just wants to fight. I don't think he got too terribly affected by things, but you don't really find that out until fight night. So, I don't think we learned a lot necessarily. I'll be interested to see how the next one plays out 2 days before the fight, but other than that, I think it was pretty much what you expect from a Conor McGregor press conference.
No, it was definitely fun to watch, and the last jab that he had towards Khabib's manager Ali, that was one for the books when he brought up Noah.
Yeah, it's for those that follow hip hop, it was a very story of Adidon of the Drake diss track about his so-called non-support for his child. It was very interesting, but yeah, he brought up some real dark things from the past of not only Khabib but also his manager, and that's what Conor does. I mean, he does everything he possibly can. And by the way, this is not an accident. It's not just for promotion. I know a lot of people think that Conor's just promoting fights and that's what he does. I mean, certainly that is what he's doing, and he wants people to watch, he wants people to tune in and all that stuff. But this is all part of the fight for Conor. I mean, Conor is a guy he's not great at stopping takedowns. He's pretty good at it. And he's not great on the ground. He's okay at getting back up. But, if Khabib goes in and sticks to his game plan and fights the way he wants to fight, Conor's a massive underdog, and he knows that. He's trying already to get Khabib so mad that he gets out of his game plan and he stands up and boxes with him. That's what he does all the time. It's not just promoting fights. This is part of his fight strategy, and we saw it in play. So, this is Conor trying to get Khabib angry to the point where he doesn't execute his game plan.
We're just about a week away, it's almost there, and the fight is definitely going to be getting more excited day by day. People are just waiting by the edge of the seat for this thing to start. The card's going to be fantastic as well. So many great fights on this card. But more news coming from the UFC right now with Nate Diaz and Dustin Poirier, and we kind of saw this 165-pound title, this fake 165-pound title really come to fruition. And what do you have to say about that? What's going on with this fake 165-pound title?
It's weird. It's something they've been fighting off for a long time. It's something a lot of fighters want. But they've been resistant, and they're kind of being weird about the whole thing. But they need title belts, and they think for whatever reason that title belts sell fights, and I don't know if that's the case. It's such an old school boxing mentality, something that they've fought for a long time. They didn't want to be boxing. They didn't want to have a million titles. They wanted their titles to mean something, and I think for a long time they did, and they kept it up where hey, who like the 7, and then it was 8, and then it was 10 champions are in each of the divisions, but now they're then interim belts and adding divisions and everything else. They're doing it, but they just have a weird mentality that people only care about titles, and you have to have a title headlining a major event. Do you remember what belt was on the line when Conor fought Nate Diaz in one of the biggest pay-per-view events they've ever done? No, none, no belt. It doesn't matter. They don't need it, and I don't understand why they're so obsessed with doing it.
Do you think both of these guys are just obsessed with becoming a UFC champion? Because Nate Diaz seems like he wants to be a champion. He understands that he's a money fight, but what is it about actually becoming a UFC champion that gets everybody so up on their high horse?
Well, that's easy. It has nothing to do with that title that you wear around your waist. It has nothing to do with that gold belt. I mean, those things are nice, but it has nothing to do with it. UFC fighter contracts have champions clauses in them, and you make a whole lot more money when you're a champion. And when you have that belt, it's very meaningful to the bottom line and to the paycheck, and that's why you have so many guys that want to be champions. Certainly it's about reaching the pinnacle of your career and everything else, but it's all about money, as most things are.
what is the difference between, like, say you're an interim champion? What's the pay raise from being the number 3 ranked fighter to an interim champion?
It just depends on how you work out your contract, but they all have champions clauses in them. And for the most part, it means it's a difference between, it's how much you make per fight, but even more importantly, it's percentages that you get for pay-per-view. You get points on pay-per-views depending on if you have a belt or not, or if you're fighting for the belt or not, and how long you've had the belt and all those sorts of things. And so that's how it becomes meaningful, in that it increases the revenue streams that you have available to you.
Well, you heard it first from Adam Hill, folks, and now we're going to get into Jon Jones versus Daniel Cormier, which also have belt implications because these guys were going at it today. Jon Jones is now going to be eligible to return on October 28th. Is he the real champion? Because this whole thing with him being cleared to fight so soon, Daniel Cormier coming out today and calling him a snitch, that he told USADA who else is doing these types of things, and that's why his sentencing pretty much got reduced to what it should have been. Pretty dirty business right now with Daniel Cormier and Jon Jones. What do you think about this thing?
It is. Listen, Jon struck first. I mean, Cormier certainly said what he had to say as soon as this reduced suspension was announced last week. And Cormier said, well, I guess USADA doesn't really mean anything if you're not going to be suspending guys and not going to be doing, you're not going to be following through with the 4-year suspensions and that sort of thing. And Cormier's kind of made it into this, I'm not even going to take tests anymore, why bother? And Jones fired back at that, but he went pretty personal and just said, hey, you're only saying this because you can't beat me and all these other things, and I'm in your head and everything else. And then Cormier, as you kind of mentioned, went back at him and said, you're a snitch. Who did you tell? And by the way, this is not an accusation. This is not something that's, a dirty secret. I've seen so many fans on Twitter, on other social media, and even like sending me emails and calling me and saying, why do people keep saying that Jon's a snitch? He is. I mean, I'm not saying that in a disparaging manner. I'm not saying, you shouldn't be doing those things. There's some kind of code of ethics or anything like that. I'm just saying, factually speaking, Jon Jones cooperated with USADA to turn in other guys. He did. It's in the agreement. Just read it. It's not that hard to find. It says in there, we're asking for a 30-month reduction for his extensive cooperation in other cases. That's right in the agreement that USADA put out. So Jon Jones and his manager came out and said, we didn't agree, we didn't tell anybody, we didn't cooperate. You did. Everybody can see it. It's not that hard to read. I think it's in today's political climate, we've learned all you do is deny it and half the world will believe you, even if it's absolutely the truth. But that's where we're at right now. Jon Jones cooperated with USADA. It's in the agreement. It's right there spelled out for everybody to read. And yet many of Jon Jones' fans just don't want to believe it and don't accept it. And Jon and his manager keep saying it's not true. It's true.
That is absolutely crazy, man. Honestly, I'm shocked by all these things transpiring right now. One final question for you. Is Jon Jones' reputation completely destroyed if this is true? And like you're saying, it is true. I completely believe you. But once his fans find out this is true, is it broken?
Well, they're never going to accept it. They're never going to believe it. We know that. That's just how it is. And by the way, that may have come across harsh or anti-Jon Jones. I have been criticized in the past for being too pro-Jon Jones. I think he's incredible. I actually think he's somewhat misunderstood as well. I've always had a pretty good relationship with Jon, and I think that deep down there's actually a good person that just doesn't understand how to act, how to show his true self. I think he's always wanted to portray this image of being the good guy and the nice guy and everything else, and doesn't understand that you can have flaws and still be a good person and still be a nice person. He's trying to cover up whatever flaws that he had. Like, people will accept your flaws if you're just, if you're honest about it. So I'm still a pro Jon Jones guy. I think he'll get it figured out at some point. I can't believe that I still say that after all the times I've been proven wrong and looked foolish for defending Jon Jones. Yeah, he's failed the tests. I think you can read into that what you want. As Daniel Cormier said, he's been tested 70 times. He's never had a slip-up. And yet Jon keeps having these slip-ups of, oh, it was this, and oh, it was this, and I wasn't cheating, it was this. I've talked to enough experts on this last test that don't believe there was anything that was performance-enhancing done intentionally in this last test, because the the dates just don't line up. Like, why would he have taken a steroid the day before the fight? It doesn't really help you in any way. So I believe that, but there's something going on with him. He keeps failing these tests, and he admitted once again that he used cocaine before and after the fight against Cormier, this last fight, after the entire storyline leading up to that last fight. And I wrote the story, and everybody else wrote the story too, of, John has learned his lesson. He's been suspended a couple of times now. His livelihood was taken away. He went to rehab. He's clean. He's a better guy. He has a different perspective. And then the USADA report comes out again last week, and he had used cocaine just before that last fight against Cormier again and after. And I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I'm not going to judge anybody for, what they do, but he had sold this whole story of being clean and how great his life is now that he's not taking drugs anymore. And he was just flat out lying. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand that thought process, and I also don't understand why, some people are still willing to believe him, but I'm still willing to give him more chances. And I think he's shown that in an era where a lot of people have been under suspicion for enhancing their performance, he was still the best of all of those. So I think Cormier is one of the great fighters of all time. I think Jones is a bad matchup for him. I think there's still going to be people that defend Jones forever, and I still have hope that he will have this career and turn things around outside the cage to where people kind of see the real John, and he allows people to see the real John that has a lot of faults and a lot of flaws, but is still a good person down deep. And we'll find out. But he's got to start. He's got to start being more honest and open about things and letting people into that world, or else there's always going to be that really small segment that loves him and a whole lot of people that hate him.
Well, you know what, Adam? I know you're covering the Las Vegas Golden Knights, but Dan, are you a great reporter when it comes to the UFC? This is one of the best interviews we've had in a long time here on Hit the Bell. Thanks again for joining us, man.
Yeah, anytime.
Take care.
You too.
And there you have it, folks. What an interesting story with Adam Hill from the Las Vegas Review-Journal. I am still shocked, and I'm just trying to compose myself to finish this rest of this Hit the Bell because, man, he let it all out there. John Jones, what the hell are you doing? But on that note, it has come to a close. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. This has been Hit the Bell with Mathias Berbel. We'll see y'all next